Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Welcome to the concluding session of the story of Lord Ram. We'll do the last of our reading, this time from Ramayana. So let's begin. Yesterday we finished when Shatrughna was asked to return to the kingdom of Madhuvan, where he went and killed the Lavanasur demon previously, which was killed by Vishnu there. They were in the form of Madhu and Kata, but this time it was in the form of Lavanasur. And Shatrughna wanted to come back to Ayodhya, but Lord Ram reminded him the Kshatriya Dharma, that he has to carry on serving the subjects of his kingdom. So he had to return. And remember, on the way to that kingdom, Madhuvan, he saw the birth of, he was there when Lava and Kush were born in Valmiki's ashram, and while coming back from there after 12 years, he was able to hear the story of Ramayana sung by Lava and Kush. And now we'll begin. Once an elderly Brahmin villager arrived at the gate of Ram's palace bearing the body of his child. Delirious with grief, the old Brahmin cried, "O my son, my dear child, what terrible crime did I commit in a previous life to deserve the death of my only child? He was just a child, not yet 14, and now his mother and I shall die from grief. What wrong did I commit? I have never spoken a lie or injured either man or animal before in the kingdom." Okay. Never before in the kingdom of Ram has a son died before his parents. Therefore, the death of my son must be due to fault of Ram himself. So this is another story being told us from the reign of Lord Ram. Now, what happened? It is well known that when the king becomes negligent in performing his duties, that such anomalies occur. "O Ram, you must return my innocent child, or else my wife and I shall give up our lives at your doorstep. In this way, you will become guilty of killing Brahmanas." "O king, you claim to be a great ruler in the line of Ikshvaku. How will you be able to go on living happily when the great sins that you have perpetrated continue to haunt you?" Ram hurriedly summoned his advisors Markandeya, Modgalya, Kashyap, Katyayan, Javali, Gautam, and Narad. After seating the great rishis and offering them respects, Ram informed them of the elderly Brahman's accusations. To relieve the king's anxiety, Narad said, "O king, I shall disclose to you the reason for this child's death. Then you may act as you see fit. In the Satyayug, everyone was spiritually qualified, and by performing austerity, they achieved liberation from material bondage. In that golden age, wisdom was the rule, and there were no untimely deaths. Then in the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the 4 social divisions were created." So it's important to know this little backdrop which is being given to us now, that at the beginning of the Treta Yuga, the 4 divisions, social divisions, were created. The Kshatriyas were practically as qualified as the Brahmins in the Treta Yuga. They were both allowed to perform austerities. In the Dwapar Yuga, that is when Lord Krishna came, irreligiosity will increase, and thus many irregularities will be introduced. As a concession, the Vaishyas will also be allowed to perform austerities, but the Shudras will be strictly forbidden to do this. Thereafter, in the Kali Yuga, even Shudras will be allowed to perform austerities. Indeed, in that degraded age, there will be practically no qualified Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas. So we are living in the most degraded of all the yugas. That is why we need a spiritual master. That is why we need initiation. That is why just to be born in a Brahmin family is not enough, because we haven't got the necessary know-how or the knowledge. O Ram, it is a serious offense for a Shudra to practice austerity in this Treta Yuga. It happens, however, that there is one Shudra in your kingdom, executing very severe penances. He is the cause of this child's death. O King, irreligiosity is a state's worst enemy. Therefore, the ruler who fails to punish wrongdoers deserves to suffer in hell. You must find out this culprit at once, so that the religious principles may be upheld and the Brahmana's son may be restored to life. Pleased by his advice, Ram ordered Lakshman, go at once to the palace gate and tell the Brahmans to preserve the body of this child in a vat of oil after supplying the necessary herbs. Ram then mentally summoned the Pushpak chariot. Leaving Ayodhya in the care of Lakshman and Bharat, he departed to search for the culprit. First, Ram flew over the western region, then north to the Himalayas. Finding no sign of irreligion, he next examined the eastern provinces and finally began searching in the south. There, near a great mountain and beside a large lake, Ram sighted an ascetic hanging head downward, engaged in executing severe penances. What great austerity! With fixed determination, Ram declared, tell me, O formidable one, who are you and what is your caste? I am Ram, the son of Dashrath, and you have aroused my curiosity. For what purpose are you undergoing so much trouble? Are you seeking the heavenly planets, or have you some other goal? Are you a Brahman, a heroic Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Shudra? Please tell me the truth. From his awkward position, the ascetic replied, O illustrious king, my name is Shambhuk. I was born the son of a Shudra. Regardless of this handicap, I am performing austerities so that in my next life I can attain the planets of the demigods. Shambhuk had hardly finished speaking when Ram unsheathed his terrible sword and slashed off the Shudra's head. From the sky came shouts of well done, excellent, as flowers rained down from all the sides. Being exceedingly pleased, the demigods appeared before Ram and declared, O Lord, you have done us a great favor by performing this noble act. You have ensured that this Shudra will not attain to heaven in violation of the religious principles. With folded hand, Ram replied by requesting the thousand-eyed Indra, O King of Heaven, if you are truly pleased with me, then kindly restore the Brahman's son to life. It was due to my own fault that the boy died. I promised the Brahman that I would restore his life. O best of the demigods, please allow my words to hold true. Indra happily replied, My dear Lord, certainly the child has already been revived and reunited with his parents. He regained his life as soon as the Shudra's head fell to the ground. Some years later, Ram decided to visit the sage Agastya, who had just completed executing austerities by living within water for 12 years. Accompanied by the demigods, on the Pushpak chariot, he arrived at the Rishi's ashram. Lord Ram then reverently bowed his head to the Rishi, who in turn received Ram with all due hospitality. Agastya said, My dear Lord, it is my great fortune that you have come here as my respected guest. Please honor me in return by accepting these golden ornaments manufactured long ago by Vishwakarma. Ram replied, My dear Rishi, only Brahmins are permitted to accept charity, not Kshatriya. The only gift I may receive from you is your valuable words of instruction. Agastya said, My dear Ram, in the Satyug there were no kings. Thus one day people went to Lord Rama and requested him to assign them a ruler. In response, Lord Brahma called for the principal demigods and commanded them to donate various portions of their potencies. Thereafter, Lord Brahma sneezed, and from this nostrils was born a king named Kshupa. Lord Brahma endowed Kshupa with a portion of Indra's energy so that he could rule over the earth, a portion of Varun's energy for the maintenance of the earth, of his body, a portion of Kuber's energy for possession of wealth, a portion of Yamraj's energy for chastising wrongdoers. My dear Lord Ram, in the same spirit you should take these celestial ornaments from me. So there's a little footnote I would like to read for you. It is understood that a person born in the Shudra family due to past sinful activities, he must gradually become free from his sinful reactions by faithfully serving the high castes who are engaged in performing pious activities. To attempt to circumvent the proper expiation of sinful reactions and to undertake pious activities for which he is not fit constitutes an aberration of dharma. To punish the Shudra and to check others born in Shudra families from such presumptuousness, Lord Ram, as the ideal king dedicated to maintain order in society, executed him. However, in the modern age, such rules of dharma do not apply, for those born in the Brahmana families are generally more degraded than Shudras. We see that these days. We see that this is quite common. For this fallen age, the recommended religious activity for all is chanting the names of Rama and Krishna and Rama, which frees one from all sinful reactions and awards love of God. Ram replied, my dear Rishi, I accept your words and I will accept the ornaments. Now please describe how you came to possess them. Agastya replied, long ago, during the present Treta Yuga, I performed penances in the vast forest. In this vast forest, I originally entered the forest out of curiosity. Thus I found a desolate, enchanting ashram. After passing the night there, however, I find a dead body lying on the ground. To my surprise, I was struck by the beauty of the corpse and stared at it for some time. Suddenly, a celestial chariot descended from the sky. Within it was an effulgent person surrounded by Gandharvas and Apsaras who were singing and dancing. That splendorous person got down from the chariot and began to feed on the dead body. I was astonished to see this and asked him, alas, how is this? You can do such an abominable act. That person said, O Rishi, my name is Shweta. I am the son of illustrious Sudev and my brother is Surat. After the death of my father, the citizens made me their king, and after ruling for a great while, I considered my duration of life was coming to an end. Thus I retired to the forest and installed my brother Surat on the royal throne. Finally, after executing severe austerity, however, I've lost the sentence. However, I was surprised to see that I was still afflicted by great pangs of hunger and thirst. Therefore I inquired, my dear Lord Brahma, the residents of your supreme abode are free from such disturbances. How then I am suffering from hunger and thirst? The grandsire replied, O Shweta, although you performed penances for a long time, you never gave in charity. Thus, for this reason, you now suffer from hunger and thirst even here in Brahmalok. Now to appease you, I ordained the human flesh that will be your meal. O king, you shall suffer the effects of this curse until you meet the great sage Agastya. Agastya then said, my Lord Ram, as arranged by destiny, I one day came to meet Shweta in gratitude for being relieved from his distress. He begged me to accept these ornaments. Ram inquired, my great Rishi, why is it that this place where Shweta performed austerities is devoid of all beasts and birds? Agastya said, my dear Ram, in the Satyug there lived a great king named Manu, who was the founder of the social system, consisting of 4 occupational duties. Later, Manu's son Ikshvaku inherited the kingdom. In this turn, he begot 100 sons. The younger son of Ikshvaku was very dull and never obeyed his brothers. Thus he received the name Danda. Danda founded the kingdom that extends between Vindhya mountains and the Shevala mountains. His capital city was named Madhumantra, and Shukracharya became his sacrificial priest. One day, after having ruled over the kingdom for a long time, Danda went to visit the ashram of Shukra. Upon his arrival, he happened to see the Rishi's beautiful daughter Araja loitering here and there. The very sight of her caused the king to immediately become overcome by lust. Danda forcibly embraced Araja and proceeded to gratify himself with her against her will. The king then returned to his capital. Soon thereafter, Shukra was informed by a disciple of what had happened. Then returned to his ashram. His daughter was there, shedding tears. The rishi angrily cursed the king. Let the Indra devastate Danda's entire kingdom by raining down dust for 7 days, so that everything becomes buried and all creatures die. Shukra then ordered the residents of his ashram to leave the forest and commanded Arja to continue living there in trance. O Ram, Shukra's curse soon took effect, and from that time the forest is known as Dandakaranya. So this is the history of Dandakaranya. And remember, when they were going to exile Ram, Sita, Lakshman, they went through this forest as well. Lord Ram passed the night at Agastya's ashram, and next morning departed for Ayodhya. Soon after his return, Lord Ram expressed his desire to perform the Rajsuya Yagya, an elaborate sacrifice that establishes who is the emperor of the world by subduing all the kings therein. Bharat said, "My dear brother, all the kings of the earth look upon you just like a father. Therefore, you should not do anything that will cause them to suffer. All of these kings are fully obedient to you, and you should not threaten them with destruction by performing this sacrifice." Ram gladly accepted Bharat's advice. Lakshman then proposed that he perform a horse sacrifice. Instead, Lakshman cited how Indra formally became freed from all his sinful reactions after slaying of Vritasur by performing the horse sacrifice. In turn, Ram pointed out how Ila, the son of Kardam, regained his manhood by similar sacrifice. Lord Ram and Lakshman called for the great rishis Vashishta, Vamdev, Jabali and Kashyap. After receiving their approval, he sent out invitations to Sugriva, Vibhishan and all the kings to join. The challenge of horse was then released to wander at will. Thereafter, the great sacrifice commenced at Naimisharanya. As the kings and princes poured in from all the world, Bharat and Shatrugna received them with great hospitality. Sugriva and other monkeys were assigned to look after entertainment, while Vibhishan and other Rakshasas were assigned to attend the comforts of the rishis. During the sacrificial performance, charity and food were distributed in profusion. No one could be seen appeared to be neglected. Indeed, wealth and clothing were heaped as high as hills all round and sacrificial arena. Thus the festivities continued for full 1 year as the challenge horse roamed the earth under the protection of Ram. I've got a few more pages left, but I'm thinking that we should give a break now, and what we can do is we will continue from here onwards and try to conclude it later in the day, because I would like to conclude this Ramayana today. Thank you for joining. Hari Om Tat Sat. Hare Krishna.